If you're interested in what I look like in real life and want to learn more about me, then follow my Instagram page at Joe the Insomniak. Hey everyone, hope you enjoy the video. This one's a little bit shorter, but I've got a lot of things I'm working on today that are going to be implemented into my next video. It's a random fact I discovered. For some reason, I can sing Old Town Road by Lil Nas X really well. I have no idea why, but my only theory is that I used to be a Texan country singer in my previous life. But anyway, hope you all enjoy the video and have a great day. To preface, the United States' first nuclear missile program in the 40s/50s was the Titan missile program. Titan missiles were enormous liquid-fueled rockets, flying skyscrapers of nuclear Armageddon. Housing these missiles was a massive task, as they're over 100 feet tall and obviously can't be kept above ground in view of enemy spy satellites. So the US government poured many millions of dollars into building a massive underground silo for upkeep, construction and launch. These silos dot the Midwest and many other remote parts of America. After barely a decade though, the Titans were phased out in favour of more efficient solid fuel rocket designs. The old silos were quickly packed up and abandoned, and they've remained virtually untouched for over 70 years now. My friends here and I decided to go and poke around one, as you do. We did some primary research, located a silo that was too far out of the way to be adequately defended, and stocked up on supplies. Respirators, dark blue clothing, trashable shoes, and high-power flashlights for some adequate setup. We lied to our parents about where we were going, telling them some half-baked lie about going stargazing, and set out. We drove about an hour and a half into nowhere, Colorado, farmland as far as you can see, with the mountains barely viewable in the distance. It was a cloudy night, and the moons peeked pensively through holes in the overcast. We found a ditch near where the GPS was telling us to go and stashed the pickup. We walked about 10 minutes past the "You are trespassing" signs before we started to see the great concrete circles laid out on the ground. We knew we were in the right place. We fumbled around in the dark for a while before finding the entrance. At the bottom of the recessed area of the plains, we found a single window, formerly barred, but some good Samaritan before us had gone through the trouble of sloppily cutting out the bars. We donned our respirators, jumping into the inky blackness abyss. Now the first thing we saw when we turned on our flashlights was asbestos. It hung so thick in the air, you could see it floating lazily around, leaving currents behind us as we moved. The second thing we saw there were bodies, all kinds of woodland creatures in various states of decay, arranged in a semicircle around the window. For reasons I can no longer fathom, we didn't take that as a sign to dodge out of there, and decided to push into the silo. The first room we enter is large, 3 stories tall, with everything of value long ago stripped by the government or looters. Water had been seeping into it for decades, turning the entire structure into rust. We carefully descended stairs that felt like they were going to give way in any moment, and found ourselves in a system of tubes that connected the various rooms of the silos to each other. We went room by room, examining the graffiti ranging from profanities to pentagrams. As we descend further, we reach a point where all the flooring had given way. All that remained were sharp, narrow supports over a soup of chemicals and rust. Still we press on. We never actually made it into the silo properly, however, because we started hearing it. The silo was a huge cavern, and all the falling water droplets echoed endlessly, creating an eerie, inescapable reverberation. The silo seemed to groan at our approach. It's a noise unlike anything I ever heard before. It penetrated my soul. At this point, we had enough, scurrying back out. We pulled ourselves out of the Mensa to find a storm had developed in our absence, thunder rumbling in the distance as we started towards a pickup. The lightning crackled, and we saw our pursuer. He was about 200 feet back. Every single time we look back at him, he seems to be the same distance. We sped up, so does he. When we saw the pickup, we broke into a dead sprint. I looked back one more time, and there he is, bearing down on us. We jump into the car, screaming, "Get the hell out of there!" The engine roars into life, and we speed out of there, shook the whole way home. There used to be an old abandoned school in a town by my home. It was heavily boarded up and super hard to get into. Well, a friend and I managed to get inside by climbing up the side of the school via a pipe, slipping through a window onto the roof. We explored the basement, which was flooded. It was super creepy, seeing stairs disappear into water. We had just left the gym when we heard footsteps coming from the doors on the other side of the gym. Scary as hell, especially considering it sounded like it was one person, not another group of explorers like us. It's also blocking our exit to the roof. The only way out, otherwise, is behind us through the boarded up doors. They sounded like someone is walking around, stomping periodically. There was no light coming from that direction. We cannot fathom why somebody would come into a creepy place like this alone. I mean, even with the water, it's so dangerous. We waited for the footsteps to stop, then snuck across the gym, peered down the hallways and see no one. We then continued towards the stairs, which led us back to the roof. Halfway down the hallway, we hear someone sprinting behind us, probably 50 or so meters away. So down a typical high school hallway. Now, it is mostly dark in here, but there was a small amount of light coming in through some cracks in the window boards. Still, we don't see anything behind us. As we quickly ran up the stairs, we didn't stop until we got back to the 4th floor. We listened for noise and heard nothing, hopped out of the window, climbed back down the pipe. This is legitimately the most scared I've been in my life. I have no idea what the hell was going on in there or who that was. I just hate the thought that someone was in there alone, stalking us. When I was 14 or 15, I was on a family trip in Switzerland. I'm the youngest of 3 brothers and would always go exploring when on family vacations. We were staying behind at the base of a mountain one night. My brothers and I decided to go walk around a little outside. We ended up stumbling upon this cavern that had signs all around it saying "Eingang verboten," entrance forbidden. Being 3 teenagers, we of course decide to check it out and see a cave. We start walking into the cave, and about 20 to 30 feet in front of us is a huge drop. It became super dark and cold. We slowed down and decided we probably shouldn't go any further. Just as I was about to turn around, I felt something brush against my hand. I told my brothers to stop. That it's not funny, but They're far away enough that it couldn't have been them. I then reached out in front of me and felt this wet, furry thing. Now I start to panic, but I remember I had a flashlight in my backpack, so I grab it, turn it on. And to my horror, I see rows and rows of dead deers hanging upside down with their stomachs open. Worse, some are still fresh. I had no idea why this was in here, and I ran like I've never ran in my life before. When I was 16, my best friend and I were wandering through an abandoned asylum grounds right by my house. There was one tall tower that had been dark and locked up for as long as I can remember. This time, not so much. At the very top, there's a light on, and we heard a strange barking noise. At first, I thought it was coming from someone else walking their dog in the area, but no, it was from the top of the tower. We hesitantly look up, and there was a silhouette in the window. The barking was coming from a person. Without even thinking, we took off running. Behind us, the person starts running and calls out in a singing voice, "Bye now." I stayed away from that place for a good few years afterwards. So last year, I'm about an hour north of Nashville, TN, and it's summer, so the sunset's a killer. I had flown in from London, so my buddy wanted to sleep that night. I had an eye on an abandoned factory I saw on the way to our hotel. I gathered my gear and flashlight. I parked down the street from this place and find a smashed glass door to crawl through. The entire place is covered in glass shards on the floor. It looks like something out of an I Am Legend movie. I've been homeless before, so I know the glass is of a homeless person so they can hear an intruder walk in. I went through a few rooms, then up some stairs to try and find the roof. The door at the top was cracked as I was slowly pushing it open. I see a bed and McDonald's cups lying around. Someone's here. About halfway through the door swinging open, a homeless guy pulls it and swings at me with some kind of weapon. I duck at this point. I'm holding my camera telling him I'm a photographer trying to find the roof and don't want trouble. I ended up getting really lucky here. He thought it was cool what I was doing. He showed me the roof and then gave me a complete tour of the factory, telling me its story and that it used to be a slaughterhouse. He showed me all the dangerous spots where the roof was, and the blood pits full of pig blood that you could fall into pretty easily. That was the part that scared me the most. He's a super nice guy and told me to stay safe. Apparently he had a job, but was trying to get off his feet after a divorce. Bought him some dinner, and the next night shot some fireworks off the roof for some photos. Now I know my story didn't end badly, but had that been anyone else, I could have very easily ended up dying there. Often homeless people are very unhygienic, so even getting a small cut could be from something septic or infectious like a dirty needle. I know stories of other explorers who have actually had this happen to them before, and they've got some really nasty illnesses from it. One even died. I just consider myself very lucky and grateful that he was so kind to me on this day, because I know deep down that that situation could have ended very badly.